depraved, diabolical, deceitful, disgusting display today from Joe Biden. I can't start. I can't do this right now. It was so depressing, but then again, it was also, well, a rerun. I've seen that stuff before. It'll be addressed, but I'll do it later. First, a message of hope. And I am so pleased that a lawsuit has been filed by the estate of Ashli Babbitt. The folks at Judicial Watch are suing with Aaron Babbitt, who is the executor of Ashli Babbitt's estate, for wrongful death, right? For what happened to her. You saw it and I saw it. There's not a police department in the country that could say what happened to Ashli Babbitt was justified. And I am glad that this has happened. I really am. Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who I believe is now a captain, I mean, one could say he literally got away with murder. Take a look at this picture. When he's running around with the gun, right here on the House floor, this is in violation of Capitol Hill Police policy, actually. And he has been for most of his career. And he certainly was that day. Not only policy, but I do believe the law. So this lawsuit has been filed. And I've been following this case very closely, as you know, but I have learned some pretty amazing things here, and I will share them with you right now. First of all, you saw Ashli Babbitt on January 6th. We've showed you this picture before. She's not an insurrectionist. She went to engage in, well, protected First Amendment speech and to see President Trump. She was at that Ellipse rally, which was peaceful, which was calm. And then with others, yeah, she walked over to the Capitol. Walked over. Wasn't a stampede. It wasn't a raid. She walked peacefully to the Capitol. And this is new. You see, nobody knew actually how she got in there. We still haven't seen the videotape, but we know this. She didn't break in. She wasn't part of a crew that broke windows and stormed in. We know this. 2 undercover Metropolitan Police Department officers followed close behind Ashli as she climbed the stairs to the West Terrace. 2 undercover Metropolitan Police Department officers were there. Why didn't they stop her if she were a threat? You know what? She wasn't a threat. And everybody was walking in at one point on January 6th. Ashli entered the Capitol on the Senate side, long after others had done so. Once inside, according to the lawsuit, Ashli encountered a female Capitol Police officer who directed her to walk south toward the House side. And you know what? Everything I found in this lawsuit corresponds to other evidence I've already seen. Here's Ashli Babbitt walking through the rotunda. And you know what? She actually does look just like a tourist. Yeah. Peacefully listening to law enforcement, following their instructions. So if you've watched this show, you may have seen me put up 3 what I think are critical pieces of video. Number 1, who is that little cop, right, who is waving everybody there? This police officer wasn't the only one, but there were others. Who is that? And number 2, why did those police officers just stand there as more and more people came in? Almost like a welcoming committee. Welcome to the Capitol, right? And the third one, these officers standing by the door that leads to the House chamber ultimately, they just walked off and took a coffee break, it seems, in the middle of everything, and allowed those guys to, well, start pounding on the door. I've been asking for a long time, who are those police officers? Well, we finally have their names, and it's pretty interesting what they're saying. First, Officer Kyle Yetter on the left, Sergeant Timothy Lively in the middle, and Officer Christopher Lanciano on the right, okay? Now, back to the video, because I want to show you where they go and where Ashli Babbitt is, all right? Let's go back to that, please. You can see right after they leave, these people start really pounding away at that door. Now we're going to stop it in a moment. Okay. You see Ashli Babbitt, and you see the others just kind of standing there next to her, okay? Now I want to go back to the lawsuit. Item 19, please. Sergeant Lively, Officer Yetter, and Officer Lanciano violated an order to guard and hold the speaker's lobby doors. That's interesting. They were ordered to stay there, and they didn't. Next, please. Sergeant Lively, Officer Yetter, and Officer Lanciano stood with their backs to the doors and did nothing to control or stop him, one of the people breaking the glass. And you and I just saw that. They didn't do anything except take a odd coffee break in the middle of it all. Next, please. Instead of controlling, de-escalating, or stopping, Alam is the person's name, one of the rioters there, Sergeant Lively, Officer Yetter, and Officer Lanciano moved away from the doors and stood along the adjacent wall, to the right of the doors. I'm still at a total loss. Next, please. Sergeant Lively told investigators afterwards, "I grapple with this, you know, if I should have stayed." Officer Smith, the CERT leader, a guy who came there a few moments later, put it bluntly to investigators, "I was thinking, why the F did they leave? Why did they leave? Why did they leave?" Now to Michael Byrd, who shot and killed Ashli Babbitt and has since been promoted and still works at the Capitol Police, has never been disciplined in any way. What is the policy about the use of deadly force? It's stated in this lawsuit, okay? Here we go. Firearms may be withdrawn from their holsters only when officers are preparing for its expected, prudent, and lawful discharge to protect themselves or others from imminent death or serious physical injury. Imminent death. Was death imminent for Officer Byrd? No. Death was imminent for Ashli Babbitt. Here's the moment she's shot.
No! Get this!
So there's some that we did not see, some moments there that we did not see, but we have a pretty full picture about what happened. No one heard Officer Byrd, Lieutenant Byrd, whatever, issue any verbal warnings. They studied this very closely. Nothing like freeze or get back or stop or I'll shoot. Nothing like that. And then Officer Byrd has spoken, and he probably incriminated himself when he did so. In August of 2021, he sat down with Lester Holt and said a few things.
When you fired, what could you see? Where were you aiming?
You're taught to aim for center mass. The subject was sideways, and I could not see her full motion of her hands or anything. So I guess her movement, caused the discharge to fall where it did.
And what did you think this individual was doing at that moment?
She was posing a threat.
How? He didn't see any weapons. I've heard police officers sometimes say, well, I thought the guy was holding a gun, but it turned out to be a can of tuna fish or something like that. I've heard that, right? But he said, I didn't even see her hands. He didn't see a weapon. He's making guesses about what's in the backpack. How did he even see the backpack? It makes absolutely no sense what he did. Next.
It was later I, found out that the subject did not have a weapon, but there was no way to know that at that time. And I could not fully see her hands or what was in the backpack or what the intentions of.
That's not the way it works, though. It doesn't work that way. The danger of imminent death. That's what you got. It's not a guesswork. It's like, I can't see, so bang, bang. And he was praised for this, called a hero.
Capitol Police, in their press release after exonerating you, said your actions potentially saved members and staff from serious injury and possible death. What was it like to hear those words, to see those words?
Those words meant a lot because that's exactly what I did on that day. That was my mission. That was what I prepared for.
Only in Washington, D.C. would you get a medal for this kind of display. The swamp protecting this individual. At the point that Ashli Babbitt was shot, there was actually hardly anybody in the House chamber. There were a handful of members who had military experience, and there was security. But all of the members had been evacuated. They asked Byrd during the investigation, well, how many people do you think were in the House when you fired? He said about 80 or 90. No, there were about 6 or 7. Now, you happen to notice that Ashli Babbitt is white and the shooter is black. Yeah, I think that may have played a role in the newsworthiness of this and how it's been portrayed. I think so. I know so. And of course, as Curtis Sliwa might say, Officer Byrd is using his complexion as protection.
Can you give us the nature of some of those threats?
They talked about, killing me, cutting off my head, very vicious and cruel things.
Racist things?
There were some racist attacks as well. It's all disheartening because I know I was doing my job.
So nobody should be threatened. I don't like threats, but they happen. Is anybody concerned about Derek Chauvin's family, right? They were saying all kinds of things. Anytime a police officer was involved in a bad shooting, or let's say a controversial shooting, the public may have some stuff to say. And some crackpots out there may write vile things. I don't know what the point is. It doesn't matter. He got some nasty emails. Ashli Babbitt lost her life. I want to see Lieutenant Byrd in action on that day, again, if you don't mind, with the gun drawn, running around the House floor. And there he is firing. There he is firing. Well, he had a problem firing that weapon when he shouldn't that day and other days when he was off duty. So the lawsuit, they did a lot of discovery here, right? They found out that, well, one day when he was off duty, his car was stolen. And according to the lawsuit, Byrd just started shooting at the car. Lieutenant Byrd's police powers also were revoked for a prior off-duty shooting into a stolen moving vehicle in which the occupants were teenagers or juveniles. The stolen vehicle was Lieutenant Byrd's car. That's not the way you use deadly force. Might be tempting, certainly but not for a law enforcement officer. You don't start shooting at a car that was stolen. Not if you're a professional law enforcement officer. And then there's this. Lieutenant Byrd fired multiple shots at the fleeing vehicle in a suburban area. Stray bullets from Lieutenant Byrd's firearm struck the sides of homes nearby. An official investigation found that Lieutenant Byrd's use of force was not justified. So he had a record of this. He was still employed by the Capitol Hill Police. That's a problem. And is it also possible that Lieutenant Byrd tried to cover up something about that day? A radio transmission, the lawsuit found out, at 2:45, or within 1 minute after shooting Ashli, Lieutenant Byrd made the following radio call. Look at this. These are his words. We got shots fired in the lobby. We got shots fired in the lobby of the House chamber. Shots are being fired at us, and we're prepared to fire back at them. We have guns drawn. Please don't leave that end. All right. We have shots fired. Trying to say that the crowd is shooting at the officers, at him. There was one shot fired, and it went from Byrd to Babbitt. That's it. A minute later, he's trying to say there's shots fired. Does he realize he made a horrible, horrible decision? Maybe. I think obviously.